morning, congregation. It's a privilege to welcome you on a live program of this recording of Choices. To our fellow Guyanese all across this country, to our neighbors in the Caribbean, and to those further afield, we want to thank you for your viewership week after week, and we pray that the blessings of God will roll with you and your family in this new year. Why not invite someone? We want to welcome you at this time, and we say God bless you, and we ask you to stay tuned.
A reset button can only come when a man understands who he really is. And from that understanding, he should recognize that he cannot do it within himself, so he needs his Creator. His Creator helps him to fulfill his God-given purpose. His Creator said that it is not good for a man to be alone, so his Creator will help him to get that woman. But that is blurred in the world. That kind of information has been neglected. And you know what? We're suffering for it because little boys and little girls are coming up not knowing daddy in particular, because mommy's got a beef with daddy. And when mommy got a beef with daddy, you don't really matter until I see your father manifesting in you. And I want to deal with you, but I did not deal with your father.
What's your second question?
I think the second question was basically how the family will manage in that situation.
You know, when I was 19 years old, because there are other elements involved, faith is a critical element in dealing with this issue. When I was about 19 years old, I was invited to a party as a young male with prospects. And everybody's drink came from the kitchen. But my drink, I noticed when the mother of the young lady whose birthday we were celebrating, my drink came from the bedroom. And when the same time she delivered that special glass to me, a wind came and lifted the blind. We call it a blind in those days. Now some of you will say a curtain, but lifted the blind, and I saw a huge altar with, I mean, like 365 candles flickering. That's where my drink came from. Now, I remember seeing cornbread, oil, and me just around that same time. And I held that drink high, and I let it fly over my shoulder. And I left that house. Lots of men, lots of women are getting themselves involved, not in the usual way. You know, you're getting hooked to somebody using some kind of spiritual motivation or impetus. And after a while, that man might wake up, that woman might wake up. That's the end of the family. So trust God and do the thing right. Do it proper. All right? Rather than allow your old grandmother and your old, you know, them old people who come together and say, we will make this thing happen, and they really make it happen until you wake up. So we have lots of unions that are really problematic because those people, they didn't enjoy the benefit of exercising their own will.
So Bishop, you are consecrated, you are about to be consecrated. Praise God. You know, when we talk about the whole notion of reset, reset is made up of the prefix re, which is to get back to the original place, and set, which is to fix in place. So to reset presupposes that there was a shift out of place. And the whole notion of trying to get back to the original place. When we look in our society, when we look, as we speak about family, there has been a shift of responsibility, shift of the presence of fathers out of place. What we are saying to those fathers who have maybe 5, 6 children, you perhaps never saw them before, we are saying to you, shift back in place. God is getting ready to do a new thing, and He needs for you to just get yourself right back in place, rediscover your purpose, and flow in the things of God.
the issue here, because we're talking family, we're talking community, we're talking nation, and we're talking reset, building on the premises of failure, but not allowing the failure to cause you not to fulfill purpose. And so you understand where you are, what is responsible for where you are, and using that as a stepping stone to get to that place where you can fulfill purpose. The Word of God reminds us, if we return to Him, He will return to us also. So we need to understand that within ourselves, we cannot do it. While an appliance has a reset button, if that appliance malfunction, unless someone reactivate that button, that appliance would not reset. So we need to come back to God. He's the one who will be able to help us to be able to fulfill that mandate.
One of the problems facing the family, particularly the urban family, and the urban family is primarily made up of one particular ethnic group, even though you have in our country. And we have major problems there because the whole question of discussions, maturity, are those things, these families, do they benefit from discussions of the mature males in the family who will sit with them and discuss issues of economics, issues of politics, issues of whatever, and say, provide a forum where those discussions can take place. And we're like around the table. We eat like a scatter shot. Some people on the front steps, on the back steps, some stand up eating. And that is not, if you have a family, that is not the template for real development and growth. You studied overseas. And there were times when you were taken or invited to very many, as a military man, to military families. You also testified to me that there are very many times when children were brought to the base, and even where parents were studying. So the children became a part of what their parents were doing. Do we have, on a regular basis in our country, a day where fathers take time out to spend with their children, where fathers explain to their children, this is what I do, and then take them to the workplace for them to meet their friends? This has got to be highly organized. In some communities, right in this country, people are known. A man goes to buy a vehicle, for example, and he doesn't have an ID card, he doesn't have money. But he's Sammy's son. He's Sammy's child. And the one who owns the vehicles, he said, "Boy, you face look familiar. You're Sammy's son, boy. Who your name? Mikey? Look, take the vehicle here and bring me money and pay me." And that is a benefit of the community meeting, the family meeting, and the father making known his children. You know, if all the time you have to do is drink beer and just socializing, moving from one house to another house, you know, like a serviceman, you know, you working with Whirlpool or something like that. You're moving from one house to another house. What time do you have to be able to introduce your children to your friends, to your colleagues, to business people, and so that they will benefit? So we need to revisit, we need to press the reset button, or an entire generation of people in our country could go astray.
You know, one of our social commentators in Guyana, I listen to the program in the mornings, and you will always hear him saying that, in his words, big man don't go out of style. Some of you may have heard it. I would want to put a clarifier to that and say good big men, you know, wouldn't go out of style. You see, there is something about fathers and in terms of the information that they have, in terms of the wisdom that they're capable of having. And I think it's Proverbs 4, when Solomon attesting to his father, said, when I was tender, my mother's only child, he said, my father taught me. And so it is so important that as a big man, you can't be a big man and don't know anything, man. But the only way that could happen is if you separate yourself from God. Because the closer you get to God, the more you develop understanding, wisdom, and so on. And therefore, in the context of the family, you're able to disseminate information that will actually lead to the transformation of your family. Because, listen, there's a saying that empty vessels make the most noise, and empty barrels basically don't have anything to offer. And as we align ourselves with God, God will pour out upon us as men information. Even in the community, information will be forthcoming that will make us viable as fathers. So we must never shun fathers. I know there are a group of people, whether you want to call them feminists or whatever, that are cultivating and promoting this whole thing about women. Yes, we need women, but God set a structure because the father is really designed to be a cover. And if you remove the cover, the family will run amok, as we heard with the elephants.
Reset. Let us assume that myself and Angela, who is my wife for 39 years, after 39 years, let us assume that as we came to the service and we heard this message, we heard the message that could be applied to the nation, to communities, to individuals. How do we as individuals press the reset button? And I think that's the question you're asking. You don't cancel everything in the past. You can't do that. You can't cancel everything in the past. As a matter of fact, you're going to examine what you have done in the past. And as you press the reset button, you return to a high point that you had in your life. And this high point in your personal life and this high point in the community life, they are communities, just as in human beings. Let us, if we want to press the reset button, we want to go back to the glory days in our lives, when our hair was not gray, when we were passionate about each other, when you went to the bedroom at night, you smelled love. Now you go to the bedroom, you're smelling Bengay. And what else you smell? Tormagene and Vicks, Icy Hot. You know? There was a time you want to go back to those. You're resetting, right? You're going back to a point. So you cannot dismiss the past. Nationally, when you press the reset button, you don't just destroy all or forget all the people that are, you can't do that. What you're doing is you try to identify a point in time in the nation that was a glory point for Guyana. And you begin to realign everything that we have to go to that direction again. There was a time, perhaps, when we as a nation, we felt, listen, the euphoria we felt when we saw the unfurling of that golden arrowhead several years ago, I think it's 2015, that was for very many Guyanese a time, it was bigger than politics. It was a time of nationhood. Somebody took us back to a point in time where we could appreciate national symbols, where we could say, wow, I am a Guyanese, look at that flag. So we want to go back to that time. There are people who specialize in taking us into the gutter. When you press a reset button, you don't go down into the gutter. You go back to the times of glory, the times of, and if you can go back, you even set a higher standard. In the community, there was a time in the community when you press the reset button, when the community in the city was filled with garbage, I got the distinct impression during those years that somebody wanted to drown us in garbage. There seemed to be lots of movement but no action, lots of words being said, and dump sites were built right where people live, right where people live. How may you forget that dump site there in Princess Street, right there? And I mean, the methane kept exploding, and it looked as though the city We must never go back to that kind of thing. So when you press the reset button, it is to challenge all those who are in authority. Listen, we cannot do business like this anymore. Let us reset ourselves to go and achieve better. So it can be interpreted, or it can be viewed through the lens of the nation. It can be viewed through the lens of the community. It can be viewed through the lens of a family or an individual. If you have 5 children, and at the end of the day, you are sitting, drinking on the table that you're sitting with your partners, and you're buying 12, 24 beers at the end of the day, and you hope your children will be able to learn literature and be able to understand mathematics and negotiate physics and chemistry and so on, and you're making 0 contribution at the home, you got to press the reset button. And the money that you spend to buy all them beers and so on, put it back in the family. You press the reset button. So that's the whole idea of the reset button. And it's not confusing. We're not confusing anybody.
I would like to cite an example about reset in the family. Last year, I had completed, I think, about 150 something pages of my dissertation. And I violated some cardinal principles in SAVE and all of that. So in the height of finishing off chapter 6, I had to do 7 chapters. I couldn't find it on the computer. It was about 2 something in the morning. So I went to my son's room and I woke him up. I said, "Here, I can't find the stuff on the computer. I don't want you to tell me you can't find it. You simply have to find it." I mean, it's 150 something pages. I mean, you don't want to hear any excuse. And I don't know what he did, but I'm sure he pressed the reset button and I was able to find those, that document again. The point is, I mean, I give you the end of the story. In 2007, when I was studying overseas, every day I got a drop from my friend to the university, a lift. They had to travel by subway. I saved the money. That I calculated and I saved the money. When the family came to visit me in December 2007, I bought his first computer for him as a gift. Years after, that investment in him enabled him to press the reset button. So in investing in our families, the returns may not be immediate, but certainly in the future you will benefit.
Let me invite you to my home as well, where I use this example every time, though it happened quite a while ago. I want to also state that someone says that he who forgets the past is condemned to repeat it. Now, I decided that I'm going to take on this woman here today. You know, the old proverb says, woman, strength there she mouth, and man, strength there he hand. So after my wife was going and going, I said, I ain't gonna take this. So I came down the step with a rage, and I took my hand and lashed the wall, and the wall broke. I'm a very strong man. You know? So after I went up and we had this row going on, my son, Daniel, came between us. He clapped his hand and stamped his feet. He said, "Stop this nonsense! The 2 of you," he was 4 years of age. He said, "What is this? Is this the way you all raising children? If we all continue like this, then the big D word will happen and the children will move from pillar to post. Cut it out." And eventually we started to laugh. And then my oldest son, he came, he said, "Daddy, want to talk to you." And he led me up the stairs to where the wall was broken. He said, "You see this? Fix it. This is my house. I am the firstborn." That is a piece for the rest of my family, for my marriage. That is life. I have to revisit that.
Those boys press the reset button. The tragedy in very many of our lives is that we do not have people to press the reset button. People love the way how things are, and people endure the way how things are. We are out of program time, but we want to let you know that it is possible for us to press the reset button. Don't only think of the urgency of pressing the reset button nationally or politically, but I believe at the individual level. There are lots of young people. You are bright. Me, I have to study. But some of you, 2 days before the exam, you just and you have everything locked in your head. But you know what? You pass. You pass. And you feel satisfied that you pass. But you're quite capable of earning A's. And you get a C or a B. But you have, if you use these resources, you can always get an A+. The challenge is not to operate as business as usual. Press the reset button and begin to accelerate and excel. Some of us, we just, as we say in Guyana, we just there. All right? You know, you just cooking food, rice and stew and rice. The next day, rice and stew. The next day, stew and rice. Listen, treat your family better. Press the reset button and begin to prepare healthy meals. If each one of us here can press the reset button. All of you who are watching this program, social media, you can press the reset button. As an individual, as a family, and we can also press the reset button in the community and in the nation. This is Choices. We'll see you next week. God bless you.
We thank you for joining us on Choices today. Remember, you can join us at First Assembly, LNP Durban Street, Workmanville, Georgetown, Guyana, for any of our special services. I'm Celicia on behalf of the set, reminding you that your whole life is the sum of your choices. God bless you.